love that the Clark County Courthouse runs the whole crew for me. So like when you need to record yourself for something, right? You want to watch again to see what happened in the room. You usually have to record it yourself and run the camera, or have someone run the camera, all that, right? Clark County, Washington, the courthouse, they run the camera for you. And because there was something born in 1966, other than myself, I was born in 1966, and that year, Lyndon B. Johnson, when they celebrated the 4th of July that year, on Monday the 4th of July, in 1966, Lyndon B. Johnson, the one after Kennedy, he signed into law the Public Records Act, which means that any public record is available for people to look at and see, right? So we had a hearing for a motion for dismissal, and I already have the recording of it, and I got to watch it, right, before we go to the readiness hearing. But the one that made me think about it, how much I love the fact that they record is the arraignment hearing. Because at the arraignment hearing, the judge, when the arraignment hearing comes, the judges look at the probable cause statement, and they determine whether or not, it appears to be this probable cause. And spoiler alert, there always is. But the recording thing, what happens is, I was thinking about AI, because I realized that to tell people, look at her face when she says, I find there's probable cause, or whatever she says. She says, she confirms that the probable cause statement makes sense, right? And when I thought about it, I thought, I don't think she was looking at the camera. So I swear, I got to look at it and watch it, but I'm pretty sure. I can't be 100% because I haven't watched it again. But anyways, I swear she wasn't looking at the camera. And I thought, you could have AI actually check and see how many times when she's talking that she is not looking at the camera, that she's not facing a camera that can see her face while she's talking, right? How often does that happen, right? Have AI check that and see when that happens. Because that's what they would say. They would say, of course, she was just getting this paper, moving this paper there. She had to turn, she didn't do that. She didn't purposely look away from the camera. But because we're all emotional creatures who sometimes think, you're not aware of that action. You can't control that action. Some people can. Fairgrave. John Prince Fairgrave. I represented myself in front of him, and he actually is able to, I don't know how he does it, but he's able to do it. He's able to completely, mute the energy from his emotions from leaving his body. It's crazy the way he can do it. Yeah, and he does something. He says problematic. He says that's problematic, and that's one of the tools he uses, because when he's saying that's problematic, he's given himself a few seconds, right? Because there's that problematic, and there's the pause, right? Now I do it a little different. I just put the pause in there. I don't hide the pause, but he's able to do it because he's keeping the emotions from moving out. Yeah. So he's able to do that. But yeah, the probable cause statement in arraignment, that's the part where they toe the line, and they keep the customers moving through the line, and they don't kick anyone out of the line. You don't want to kick someone out of the line, because you need customers at the courthouse. You need customers at the office building you work at, right? So if you work in an office building and it runs on customers coming, right? You gotta have product to sell, whatever. Yeah, right. Whatever business you're in, you gotta have customers in this business. And who brings you customers? The cops, right? The cops bring you the customers. And how do they bring him there? Well, they arrest him on a probable cause that they committed a crime. But if they arrested him on the elements of the case, right, the things you have to prove to a jury, then they wouldn't have a whole lot of customers. So what they do is they use probable cause to arrest you, and then when you get to the courthouse, people are scared. They use their power and authority and the threat of going to jail to scare the fuck out of you. And then people plea. They make a plea bargain, right? They make a deal. Always make a deal, right? And then they make a deal. And you plead guilty to something, right? So that's how they do it. That's how they do it. Because they went elements of the case, then the probable cause statement would not be a probable cause statement, it'd be elements of the case statement, right? That's what they should have, elements of the case statement. That it states, okay, quite often the element of the state is always in Washington State is that it happened in Washington State and that it happened in Clark County, right, or whatever place you're at, right? But in this case of indecent exposure, it doesn't talk about being naked. The Indecent Exposure Act does not talk about being naked. They never do. They talk about the intention, what you're doing. You have to have your genitals exposed in a manner in which someone else would be alarmed, and meaning both of these things have to be true. It has to be offensive, right? And previous law has stated that offensive comes down to like showing yourself off, right? Yeah, you have to be showing yourself off kind of sexually some way. It has to be kind of sexual, showing yourself off. Lascivious. Yeah, lascivious. That's what the case, and that's the funny thing is one of the cases that they cite for this was also from 1966. Yeah, it's from 1966. So the states you have to do that. So if the cops, when they arrested you, knew that this indecent exposure law, you have to prove these things, right? But they just know that. Well, but the cop that first came to talk to me, the one that arrested me, didn't talk to me at all about the law. I tried to talk to him about it, but he didn't want to do roadside court. He said, we're going to real court. That's why we're going here. Because Philip Walker don't do roadside court. He don't talk about the law on roadside. You talk about the law when you get to the law. On roadside, we just talk about probable cause. And I think you did it. So you did it. So yeah, probable cause statements. So then it gets to the court, and the judge always says, yeah, there's probable cause. But quite often they can't look at the camera when they say it because they know there's not, right? In my probable cause statement, it was obvious that there was not. Because the probable cause statement claimed that she had went to her dining room and looked out the window from her dining room inside her house and saw me nude sunbathing on the riverbank. Yeah. And she said that she would feel threatened by anyone who nude sunbathes. So, see that, if it was the elements of the case, you would have to put in there the part that was like obscene, right? What was the obscene part? Because that's what the statute says. They have to have done something obscene, right? But you don't have to put that in a probable cause statement. Nope, because they don't use probable cause. And the funny thing is how I learned that. I learned that from Kyle Kinnaman, because what happened in this case was this woman that claims I exposed myself to her in a sexual manner. My dick. I wanted, like, I was thinking about sex with her, right? I was thinking about sex. Is why I took my pants off, or didn't have my pants on, right? But she was 1.5 football fields away from me, and there was a river between us, a river with an island in the middle of it. So there's basically like 2 rivers, right? 2 sections of water, and it was like 1.5 football fields the distance. And she was up higher than me. She was elevation change, and there's a bunch of trees and bushes around me and in between us on that island. Her house, I don't know. I've never seen a picture from out of her dining room window. So when I started doing some research after I was arrested and taken to jail, I realized that if you see someone naked and they expect privacy in the space that they're at, whether it's public or private, in your house or out in the public space, but they expect privacy there. If you see someone in that situation, if you start looking at them with any kind of surveillance equipment, is what they deem it, and surveillance equipment is anything that is not your naked eye, so like binoculars or telescope or a camera with a zoom lens, that kind of thing. So if you do that and start watching them with binoculars, it's voyeurism in the first degree, right? He seems to see some chick and she's over there and she's naked, right? And then you're like, what is over there moving? Oh God, it's a naked girl. And then you get your binoculars, start looking at her and watching her. That's voyeurism in the first degree. So now, if you have a camera, you take pictures, any photographs of, save them, look at them. Then it goes up a degree. It's like second degree, right? And then if you share those pictures with other people, then it goes up another degree. It's like third degree, right? Third degree. So I'm like, look at this. I was reading Elements of the Case for voyeurism. So I sent that to the Washougal Police Department when I asked them to investigate her for voyeurism, because the only way she could see my dick was if she was to use surveillance equipment, right? And that would be voyeurism. So they investigated her for that. And when I sent Kyle Kinnaman, I think it's Kinnaman, I think, the elements of the case, he replied back to me and said, we don't use elements of the case, we use probable cause. I'm like, there you go. That's how the business that is, the office building that is, the courthouse, gets so many customers coming through their door, because the police bring them customers on probable cause rather than elements of the case. In most cases, I think it's 10% of cases go to trial, 10 or less, maybe it's 2%. It's a really low percentage of cases that go to trial, really low. But there's a whole lot of them that go in there that never have the elements of the case, but because of the fear that comes from a courthouse, and they get away with it. So hopefully that's what my case brings us, is that we quit doing that. But we'll see.